Hello, good evening, everyone. Hi. Please, if you can hear me clearly, can you drop some emoji? Please drop an emoji if you can hear me. Hope you had a wonderful day and hope you're all ready for today's webinar. But we are going to give you nothing short of insights that will help you throughout your journey in the tech career. It has always been a knowledge-filled webinar, and today's episode is not going to be anything short of that as well. So I welcome you all to today's webinar. My name is Justina Ukedi, and I am the 3MTP Community Manager for Abia State. So for today's webinar, we are going to be looking at the topic, turning bold ideas into sustainable solutions. And I know fully well that there are a lot of us here that have good ideas, cool stuff that we want to solve any solution, any problem that we have identified in our communities, in our societies, but we've been struggling with how to bring this to life, right? I know we have a lot of people here. So we have an expert in this area that is going to explain everything in details to us. And after today, we're not going to be confused and we're not going to struggle with bringing those ideas, to life, right? So I'm not on this call alone. With me there is Mr. Ahmed Mukoshe. So he's going to be the trainer speaker for the webinar today. So I urge us all to give him our undivided attention, get a notepad ready because you're going to note down a lot of things that will be helpful to you in the end of this section. But before Mr. Ahmed Musheko comes up, I would like to do a brief introduction for him. Of course, it would be lovely if you get to know the person that is going to be speaking to us, right? So without further ado, I would read out Mr. Ahmed Musheke's bio. He is a tech entrepreneur. He's a tech entrepreneur and a web developer from Sokoto, Nigeria. He also studied physics at Usman Danfodio University, graduating with second honors and a master's in information technology from the University of Lagos. His career began in 2007 when he founded MTech Hosting Company, later rebranding it to GigaLayer to have a more internationally marketable name. GigaLayer has grown significantly since its inception, providing web hosting and domain registration services. Ahmed is a recognized thought leader in the tech community, frequently sharing his insights on business, entrepreneurship, and productivity through his personal blog and social media channels. I'm so sure that by now we should be dropping an emoji for our speaker because he has a quite interesting bio, right? His commitment to continuous learning and knowledge sharing has made him a respected figure among peers and aspiring entrepreneurs. His expertise and influence are further underscored by the involvement in key industry events and contributions to various tech forum discussions. In addition to GigaLayer, he operates multiple companies within the technology space, showcasing his entrepreneurial prowess and dedication to tech innovation. His vendors span various aspects of the tech industry, reflecting his ability to identify and seize opportunities. Ahmed's contributions extend beyond his business. He is an active member of the Nigerian Internet Registration Association, NIRA, technical committee. He's an active member of the Nigerian Internet Registration Association technical committee, where he plays a crucial role in the governance and technical oversight of Nigeria's internet infrastructure. Wow, such a beautiful bio. And with this alone, we are confident that we're going to get a lot from our speaker. And I hope we've all put that our notepads, our pens, our jotters are ready. And we are fully ready to get him straight to us. Mr. Ahmed, you're welcome to this episode of the webinar. You can speak now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here with you today. I don't know if I'm very audible. You've been breaking. I don't know if it was my network or your network. Can you hear me loud? Am I audible? Justina, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Just checking to
yeah,
ensure
yeah,
that.
sure. Yeah, please, if you can hear him clearly, drop an emoji so we could confirm you can hear him from your end as well.
Thank you. So I think I can go ahead and start sharing my screen now. Perhaps I can jump into that. Just a minute.
All right, so while waiting for our speaker to share his screen, I would like to hear from a few of us. How did our day go? Was it raining on your side? Because my side, it has been raining all day. So I would want to know the updates from your side. You can drop a comment, just use the words to describe your location, like how is it over there? How is the weather? All right, so while waiting for you can drop a comment, just use the words to describe your location, like how is it over there? How is the weather? All right. Okay, I can see a comment from Bosa. Bosa said we are as usual. Interesting. Okay, I can see some people also dropping an emoji to show that their location is cool. That's quite interesting. Super well done to everyone. I can also see Kelvin V. Kelvin V, you're highly welcome.
Sorry for that delay, please. I'm still trying to get my screen to come up so I can share that.
Okay, so please let's be a little bit patient with him. Please, one thing I would want us all to do is to share the link to this webinar to the various pre-MTT community you belong to, because it will be quite interesting that we get more persons to benefit from this knowledge. Don't just get this knowledge and go home with it. Please reach out to people in your community, reach out to other fellows, tell them that there is an insightful webinar ongoing right now and they have to join. I know there are a lot of people that have both ideas, both tech ideas, and they don't even know how to come up and bring it to life. But this webinar is going to help you to do that. So please reach out to everyone in your community, drop a message, tell them that we are live and they have to join us right away. Okay, I can see Ebenezer. Ebenezer said it rained briefly in the morning. It's also drizzling. It has also been drizzling all day. Interesting. Like we needed the rain so much because it has been very hot for some days now. So we just needed the rain to cool down every day. I'm so sure we're going to have a nice and long sleep tonight because you know anytime it rains, the weather is always cool and you can sleep and sleep and sleep. So this night is going to be one of those nights that you will have a long sleep, and that's quite interesting too. I can see Anaya Chukwu joining from Enugu, Nigeria, and saying thank you to 3MCT for this opportunity. Thank you to Anaya Chukwu Anyekwe. Thank you for your commitment to your learning. Thank you so much. Keep up the good. Okay, Kelvin V, I can see your question. You are in cohort 3. I can't join a community because the link has expired. Can you please share the link to join Kano State community? All right, Kelvin V, you would get the Kano State community link very soon. But please, you can drop this request in the 3MCT general group so that the Kano State community manager can attend to it quickly. But be rest assured that you are going to get this link very quickly as well. I can also see John Opia's comment. It's rained in the early hours till around 11 a.m. Now the weather is chill. Yeah. The weather is so chill, even in my area. And I love the chilled weather. I love how chill the weather is. Okay, any other person? All right. We are still expecting more people to join. We are still waiting for you to reach out to your friends to join here. All right, so our speaker slide is up now. So without further ado, we are starting this training quickly. Damn.
Thank you very much, and sincere apology for the challenge with getting the slides up. They're visible right now, right? The slide is visible now, right? Am I audible too?
Yes, you are audible. Please, if you can see the speakers,
All right, let's jump into it. Today we'll be talking about turning bold ideas into sustainable solutions. I'm happy to be here today with the participants on this wonderful webinar that has been ongoing. It's my pleasure. Thank you very much, Justina, for the wonderful introduction. I also want to start by apologizing for the network and the instability of technical issues that I faced. Without further ado, I think I will jump into the presentation. So I will be taking us through the content first before we jump into the slides. I'm still having technical glitches here. I am sure you can see that. So today we'll be talking about bold ideas and also we will talk about problems worth solving because a lot of people catch up with ideas. This content I carefully crafted for you guys to be able to ensure that we dive into all the areas towards ideas. So when you have ideas, usually you would have interest in solving problems. And so we will talk about problems worth solving because some problems are not. We will talk about developing sustainable solutions, how to do that. Then furthermore, we will talk about idea implementation, and how to overcome challenges when building upon your idea, and how you can measure impact to build on what you're trying to bring solution on. So let's talk about bold ideas first, right? What are bold ideas? What do you understand by bold ideas? I would love to see people's comment on that. Unfortunately, I'm sure some people are participating from different destinations. My intent was to see what people understand with bold ideas. So Justine, I don't know if you can help me with that. I would love to hear people's comment on what are bold ideas. What do they understand by the definition of a bold idea? Justine, are you with me?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm waiting for comments from the fellows.
Okay.
I'm waiting for
Because
comments from the fellows. There's no comment yet. Please, can you drop at the comment section what you understand by bold ideas? What do you understand by the term bold ideas? I'll be waiting for your comment, the comment section.
I want to also, I'm trying to see if I can also on my other screen see what people are writing for their definition of what a bold idea is. Just to define a bold idea, what do you understand by the term bold idea?
So anyone can attempt. Anyone can attempt. It must not be perfect. It must not be a perfect answer, right? So just attempt to say something. We'll be waiting. Okay.
Okay. Any definition, or I can go ahead with mine. If I don't get any, I'll proceed.
Yeah, you
So
can go ahead. Why waiting for them to drop their definitions?
So bold ideas actually ideas that are driving forces behind transformative change, in my own definition, and innovation. So for an idea to be defined or termed as a bold idea, it has to be very transformative and it has to be highly innovative. It must challenge the status quo. It has to shift the paradigm of what people are usually used to and push boundaries, inspiring new ways of thinking. So let's take a reverse back and think about an example of a bold idea, right? We can talk about putting solar system in the homes. That was a genius, bold idea to think about alternative source of energy because we were used to fossil fuels, we were used to coal and the rest. So for someone to think about, oh, the sun has energy and we can actually tap into that solar energy and convert it into household use of power, source of energy for home usage or offices or things. That's a very bold idea. I'm not talking about today. I'm talking about when it was innovative, right? So that's an example of a bold idea. Another example of a bold idea would be like cars run on fuels, and then you think about how can we use batteries to power cars, and we can think about automotive design where vehicles would drive themselves and things like that. Those are all called bold ideas. So in most part of this presentation seminar, I will be talking about how to build these bold ideas, how to take advantage of these bold ideas. And truth be told is that we all have this kind of ideas on a daily basis. They come to us and we tend to hold back thinking this is not something that we can leverage. So in your presentation, as you can see, I defined 3 areas where you need to look at when thinking about your bold idea. It has to be innovative and it has to be challenging the status quo. it has to solve a significant problem. Part of solving significant problem in the examples that I gave included, for example, those are significant problems because the rate of car accident has been significant in the charts. So someone had to look at it and say people are not being able to handle or maneuver cars as effective as needed, and eventually this results in problem. How about if cars could drive themselves? So this is an example of how you can actually identify a bold idea. Is it innovative? Is it challenging the current system, like what people are normally doing? Is it shifting the way people think? If it is, then it is automatically defined as a bold idea. But then let's proceed. But while you have these bold ideas, there are some of them that they are not worth paying attention to, right? For example, somebody will think about how do I make, I don't know, maybe out of the blue, a wild thought where you think about maybe if human beings could fly, right? Which gave us aeroplane, but in the other wings of thinking, maybe if I can give human beings like real wings, like birds, is it really worth doing? Because aeroplanes are doing the movement and human beings don't want the stress. We don't even want to be flapping our arms to fly. We want an automated system that can actually carry us and things like that. So here I would like to identify, how do you then identify those problems, those ideas that you're having in your head? How do you identify which ones of them are worth paying attention to and which ones are not? You have to have a sieve. You have to have something to filter and say, okay, let me remove the sand out of the stones, right? And pick the bold ones, the big ones, the really possible to be lucrative kind of ideas. And identifying this type of problems is very important. So the first thing to do is always a market research, right? I hope people are taking notes because market research is very, very important. While you have those ideas, you need to go out. You need to find out if those your ideas really have impact to human beings or people or community or social impact. You need to research. Your ideas can come overnight. You can just have a nap and then you come up with a very brilliant idea. But then how do you know if it is worth solving if you don't research on it? So research is a key part. Then second thing is you need relevance, right? If it's not relevant, then it's not valued, because relevance, let me explain. So while your idea, you might find that it is worth doing, your research shows that there's the need, but then do people really value it? The people or the community or whoever you're targeting with that idea, do they really value that? If they don't, then it's not relevant, right? So all these four aspects that is on your screen right now are really important. The next thing is, does it align with long-term plans? I'll explain. Long-term plans, meaning that you're not just solving an immediate problem, which tomorrow it's no longer a problem. Let's reverse back. In 2019, 2021, 2019 to 2020, we had what was called COVID, right? And there was a problem all over the world. It's a critical problem. But COVID did not align with long-term plans because it was a temporary issue which has gone, which has subsided. So many businesses came up, so many ideas were there, but they were based on a temporary problem, right? So your idea or your bold idea should align with a long-term plan. It shouldn't be a short-term something you're solving with immediate impact. An example of what happened during COVID was people were creating alternative means of communication. There was even transportation. There was so many distancing and all of that. But human beings are social beings, right? They always want to socialize. So it's a temporary thing. Nobody can say that people will distance themselves like for a long time. Everybody wants that closeness. So a lot of solutions that came up during that time didn't actually last that long. Then the last thing to look at is the economic value, right? You don't want to be solving problems that have no monetary value. And in fact, going back to the long-term plans, there was a recent review I was seeing for an app that came up. I don't remember the name of this app. It came up during COVID as well, and it was more about social conferencing and voice communication where people don't get to meet and all of that. It really became a success story, but then people came out later on, and then the whole business idea has faded away. So going forward to confirming the values of your problem, is it monetary? Does it have any monetary value? How do you gauge that, right? You need to confirm, are people willing to part with them? If people are not willing to pay for it, it means that there's no economical value. So reversing back at this, you need to do your market research, number one. You need to confirm there's a large number of people or community or social, whatever you're solving. It brings that large quantity of people with that problem. You don't want to solve a problem that is 1 out of 100 people. You want to solve a problem that has maybe 70 out of 100, 50 out of 100. There's a large number of people who are facing the same problem, are willing to embrace the problem you are trying to solve, the solution you bring to that problem, I mean. Then it also aligns with long-term plans, meaning that if you solve that problem, it doesn't just end today, or it's just a solution for the week or for the month or for the year, and then next year nobody needs that solution anymore. You want it to last decades and ahead. Your market research will also guide. So I'll proceed on my slide. And going back to my previous slide on economic value and sustainability, we will talk about now the sustainable solutions, right? Because it's where I felt like this is where it's tricky. How do you identify sustainable solutions? What are the things that long-term decade of building of solutions want is that you want a solution that you will do, you pass on, more people will join into building more solutions to that problem. And I made an example with the solar system, the idea of converting solar energy into electrical energy that homes and people use to solve their electrical needs. It's a sustainable solution because it's a long-term thing. We will forever need energy. And so solving that problem is a long-term sustainable solution. So now I want to dive deep into the identification of these sustainable solutions. Right. So in terms of building sustainable solutions, you need to build solutions that meet current needs without compromising the ability for future generations to meet theirs, right? So meaning that you want to build solutions that this generation would use, next generation would use, and if possible, even generation upon generation upon generation after you would want to use that. I'm sure most of us here don't even know who started the research on the solar system and solar panels or power, but today almost everyone is consuming that, right? So that's an example of building sustainable solution. But then, how do you identify, right? So I came up with 5 areas where you need to pay attention to in terms of finding out how to build sustainable solutions after you finish selecting your bold idea. First thing to do is environmental stewardship. You don't want to bring an idea that has environmental disadvantages at all, right? It needs to be considering the environment before you do whatever idea. If it is an idea that will have to burn forest, create more climate change, maybe possibly even impact on maybe animals or whatever it is, or trees, then it's a bad idea, really, right? Even if the solution is going to be good, if it's not environmentally friendly, then it's a bad choice. The next thing you need to look at is how economic viability. I think I've already touched about that. Economic meaning that in this part where I'm talking about economic viability, it's not about whether it can make money. It may make money for you, the idea maker, or some people, but you would want economic viability, meaning that it's sustainable in the long term. It's going to create jobs. It's going to give solution to unemployment. It's going to, more people will tap into it. There's a vast economic value, possibly even for the government to even tax and deliver more things from your idea. So maybe you generate more tax for the government, more value for the people, more employment and all of that. So you need to look at the economic viability. Then social responsibility, your idea should have social impact. Back to environmental as we started, after environmental, it needs to be socially viable, meaning that you need to have, people need to have value, drive value apart from the value of your creation. I mean, socially, right? If I'm using your products, or if I'm using your service or whatever solution you are bringing from your idea, I should at least be able to live with my neighbor fine. I should be able to move around with it fine. Let's go back to the example of self-driving cars. You would want to have self-driving cars that if I go on the road with my self-driving car, I don't disturb the people who are driving the other cars, right? I don't create problems on the road for other people, even if they're not using my solution. So if you understand what I'm trying to identify here, then you need to be very socially friendly, right? Maybe the word I should have used there is not social responsibility, but more like socially friendly, right? But it's a responsibility, honestly. And I added green technology because that's where we are going. Nobody wants climate change anymore. So if you're doing anything, let it not be overheating the environment. If you can, look at green energy, renewable energies, if you need to use energy at all. Lastly, resource efficiency. While you are building sustainable solutions, if you really want to achieve sustainable solutions, they must be very, very, very resource efficient, because there's going to be challenge of funding, there's going to be challenge of spending. You don't really want to spend everything you have and everything they give you in trying to solve this problem, build sustainable solutions, and then you are burning more than necessary. So resourcefulness, resource efficiency, I mean, in terms of financial resources and in terms of human resources, whatever it is, make sure that it is very, very efficient. So once we've identified those ideas for how to build a sustainable idea, I think now we talk about implementation, right? We've identified what are bold ideas. We've identified how to build sustainable solutions from your ideas, what you need to consider. I hope I'm not talking too fast because this is recorded. I mean, I'm sure you'll be able to go back to it and take notes. So now we're coming to implementation. Now you've identified good ideas. You've identified sustainable ways of building those ideas. Now it's coming to implementation. At implementation stage, there's something I don't know if everybody here but has been participating to Eric Ries, his ideology of minimum viable product. I think I learned most of this from there. And also, in addition to that, there is learning curve when it comes to implementation. So 3 key things to worry about is to build, right? Then measure, right? What you're doing, and then learn, take your learning back into what you're building. So it's a circle. If you can see my screen, you would go through from idea to building. Once you build, you take implementation where you're using and whatever you're doing for the implementation, then you learn back and go back into the circle. So in minimum viable products, there's always this idea notion where you don't go out all at once. You don't build to perfection. You don't start and finish all at the same time. In fact, there's always an advice I give to youngsters that don't keep your ideas or solutions to your ideas or problems that you're solving to yourself alone. Always share with someone. And in fact, the more you share with people, the more feedback they will give you. The more feedback you have, the better you can improve on your idea, the better you can improve on your solution. So basically, this is what I'm trying to explain here. When you have your ideas, you build it, then you learn from it. You take measures because, of course, there's also another statement that says, how do you improve what you don't measure? So that's why you need to measure, learn from what you've measured, and go back to building. Go on that circle. and don't bite more than you can chew. In terms of building these ideas, you need to first identify what your customers really want, or clients or users or buyers or consumers, whichever word is best for your idea. Learn as much as possible what they want. There's also another saying from Steve Jobs. He said, while consumers are giving you their problems, in most cases, by the time you go building, when you come back, they're finished. So you need to be fast in it. That's why I say do it, learn what they want, and do it quick, and do that quickly. Then test your ideas as much as it's required. Get feedback, try again, give people a trial period, let them try the idea, let them try the product, let them try the service, let them give you feedback, use that to improve on the product. Take your testings, make sure what you're measuring is also well recorded. Data is very, very, very important. As much as you can learn, make sure you document your learning as well. So that circle needs to go. And back to the beginning of this slide, don't bite more than you can chew. As much as I would want to continue to expatiate on this, I think you should just go and learn more, or even read the book, Lean Startup. Yes, so you should read that. So now we have identified ideas, we've identified building sustainable solutions, we've identified the implementation. Now we go challenges, right? You would, I don't even know how to strict it. Maybe I shouldn't use would. You will face challenges whatever you're building, definitely. There's no second English about it. My advice is to learn how to overcome challenges. I know there are 1,000 ways to overcome challenges, but I'll just stick on 2 or 3 rather on this presentation. And there are more, but if you are able to just at least cover on these ones, you'll be able to go far. The first one is the technical difficulties, right? Most people have ideas. I don't have a developer. I'm not a coder. I need somebody to build the software, or let me leave the software part. Maybe hardware. I need the engineer. I need the technical person to handle this, to handle all those challenges. You'll face them. They are very rampant, like everybody has them. So I'll give you solutions to how to do that. While you have your ideas, it's always good to find, if you're doing startups, for example, you need to have a co-founder. Find someone who complements you. If you are technical, first thing to do is find someone who is administrative, business, and all of that. Or if you're business and administrative, find someone who is technical enough to put you through how to build these solutions. There are a lot of technical solutions you can find. You can find them online. You can find what people have done before. And in most cases, most solutions, it's a bit and bytes of different technicalities that you bring together. The electric cars did not invent batteries. The electric cars did not invent wheels. The electric cars did not invent what more? Maybe dashboards and seat heating technologies, or maybe even display or touch screens and all of that. They didn't invent that. So these are all technical things, but they find complementing parts. So as much as you can, find either a co-founder, find existing technologies you can actually tap into your idea to not go back and reinvent the wheel. Second challenge you would definitely come across would be funding, right? It's an obstacle for a lot of founders and innovators, even myself. I'll give you a story of my own startup. When I started, I went up and down. I think I can't even start counting how many investors I've spoken to get funding for my startup. It failed. I had to bootstrap, so funding is a constraint. And thank God I'm already mentioning bootstrapping. There are so many ways you can raise funding. A lot of people have ideas, they've identified how to solve them, they've identified the technicalities, they're now facing the challenge of funding. So funding is a critical one. And I will always advise that you go and fine-tune your idea first. That bold idea, those things we discussed previously, make sure that you have fine-tuned them properly to the extent that someone is willing to engage his funds into your idea. Because nobody will give you money, resources, whatever it is, for a vaguely defined idea. You need to be very specific. You need to be very, you've already done all your testing, you've done your suggestions. You can even narrow down your customers or your users or your first beta version where people will test your application. You've already done all of that. Then you can go for fundraising. You can also bootstrap. You can also live on grants. There are people who are willing to put money where value, especially bold ideas. To be honest with you, I think 99%, I don't know, I don't have the statistics, but most of the funding that comes as grants go for the bold ideas. Honestly speaking, I think I can go back this up with a research, but the truth is, if you see people giving grants, giving huge sum of money for ideas, it is mostly bold ideas. So if you have a bold idea, dust it, work on it, do the things we discussed earlier, and then I'm sure funding will follow through. You can also bootstrap. You can also initialize with the first. There's something we call your customer is your investor, right? So that you can sell most of the idea to your customers to use and generate revenue. This is not a funding class. This is not a business class. I'm just emphasizing on the constraint or the challenge of funding. Then lastly, market resistance, right? Often new ideas, you will definitely, and I repeat again, similarly, just as I mentioned earlier with the fact that if you bring up brilliant ideas and bold ideas like that, they will face rejection from investors. They will most likely face rejection from users also. There's going to be skepticism. There's going to be like, what is this? Like, I can tell you for a fact, a lot of people don't like self-driving cars today. They don't like electric cars. There's always going to be resistance. Similarly, when cryptocurrency came up, there was a huge resistance. It's still, till today, there's a lot of resistance in terms of that technology. So just keep it at the back of your mind that whenever you have a bold idea, there's going to be a huge market resistance. So what you need to do is to simplify, define your solutions, make them as easy as A, B, C, they say, right? If a child can understand your idea, then most likely you've defined it to the best that you can. But if not, don't take the mistake of assuming that you come with your bold idea and people will just embrace it. No, you will face challenges with bold ideas because there's going to be a lot of skepticism. So lastly, measuring impact. So as you have built, you have achieved, you've done your development, you need to do some measuring, right? We did discuss about measuring earlier. First and foremost, in terms of measuring impacts, you must have clear goals. Clear goals mean everything. That idea, that solution, that impact you want to make has to have clear goals. Why do you want to do it, right? What solution are you trying to achieve? Decades of solutions, decade of impact. How? What are your goals? What drives you? You need to identify that and clearly define it, both in your business terms, both in your development terms, technical terms, everything. You need to define it properly. Second, which I think all of us know already, your KPIs, right? You need to have metrics which you measure. We did discuss about measures, so I think we are still talking about measuring and measuring and measuring. So KPIs, basically, we all know what KPIs are, your performance indicators, the key ones. Take them down, keep following up on them, improve on your KPIs, keep adding to them possibly, and make sure that you measure as much as you can. And lastly, I think data, I also discussed this in the previous slides. Data they say data is key, right? Data is everything, basically. If you want to achieve more, you need to have your data backed up. You need your data from inception to decades ahead. Make sure that your data is valid, because sometimes I come from my company, there was a time we need to review some changes that we made because we felt that was the best idea. But then going back to our previous data, what our customers showed us more than 5 years back gave us a whole new perspective, which we moved into the current data that we have. And now we can do what you call side-by-side comparison from point A to point B during 2021 and during 2024. What's the gap, or how much have we achieved, and all of that. That is because we have our analytics set. So make sure you take your data very, very important, very, very down to part. So keep your data very well, and collect your data accurately. Don't dump your data. That's one mistake I see a lot of people doing. You collect data, but it's a dump. Come to think of it, right? If you collect data as a dump, it's as good as you're going to you drop maybe a handkerchief, right? And you put it in the trash, and then somebody packed the whole trash, they took it at the dump yard, and you need to find that handkerchief. It's going to be trouble, right? Because you now have to start going through pile and pile of data. But imagine if you have box of handkerchiefs, box of used socks, box of whatever it is, maybe facing cap, whatever, or shoes. But now you need to identify a handkerchief that is missing. You can just find the box of handkerchief and pull it out. That is why leveraging on your data is very important, and comprehensively collecting your data and while accurately storing your data is important. So lastly, I think it's on conclusions. Not very much of discussions to do in terms of conclusions, but I will give you a takeaway. Bold ideas are really complex, and people run away from bold ideas. But I urge you not to. Don't let your bold ideas don't throw away your bold ideas. And if you give anybody your ideas and they embrace it and everybody understand your idea, oh yes, it's a very nice idea, it's not a bold idea, and don't even think about it, right? My advice is those ideas that people think you're crazy. In fact, let's go back to Steve Jobs. He said it's for the crazy ones, right? Those ones who think they can actually put a round square, who can put a square peg in a round hole, are the ones who change the world, right? So when you think the impossible, when people see you and they think, no, he's crazy, she's crazy, they don't know what they're thinking, they're confused. In most cases, you're dealing with a bold idea. And when you're doing that, please go back to all of this slide, follow through, and you shall see that your bold idea is something worth celebrating, and it is something worth living for. Thank you very much. And I really am happy to be here with you guys, and 3MTT, I really appreciate you for inviting me here, and the ministry, it's my pleasure. Thank you very much, everyone. And I think I would hand off back the microphone to Justina. I hope I have done justice to this session today. Thank you very much.
Wow. That was amazing. Like, you don't even need to tell us you've done justice. We know that you did a very big justice this webinar topic, and we are so grateful to you. Thank you so much. I'm sure that the fellows, they have their notepad filled now with a lot of questions, a lot of salient points from this webinar. Thank you so much once again, Mr. Ahmed. We are happy to have you here. So you can also see his contacts online. If you feel you want to connect more with him, please do well to take a screenshot of this particular slide so as to connect more with him. Right? So this is the time for you to ask your questions. We wouldn't let him go without answering our questions. I know we have a lot of questions to ask. So this is the time for you to ask those questions that have been bothering you. Yes, I know you have good ideas and you've just been shying away. This is time for you to ask these experts with us here. How can I do this? How can I do that? How can I bring my idea to life? Like, that's the time, the right time for you to ask. So please, I would be at the comment section, looking out for all your questions so that the speaker can give appropriate answer to all the questions you have. All right, so I'm looking at the comment section now. Oh, okay. I can see a comment from someone. Your presentation is excellent. Myself have learned a lot. The slides are superb. Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, so there's one question here. There's one question here. How did you achieve all what you've achieved coming from Sokoto? How did you achieve all what you've achieved coming from Sokoto? So that's the first question for you to answer this.
Thank you very much, Justina. I think a lot of people have, there's an article actually I wrote some time back, I think nearly 7 years ago, regarding that. People tend to think Sokoto is one, how do I put it, outskirt part of Nigeria. And in fact, there's a question someone once asked me over a decade ago, that is there internet in Sokoto? How did you learn computer? How did you learn programming while in Sokoto? But we all believe that the world is, what do you call it, a global village, right? And literally, in fact, some of my early friends were from the United States, right? When I was even young, when I was learning how to code, I used to build with programmers from India, programmers from the United States, and I never felt there was any gap, any boundary. I was attending conferences, speaking in Lagos, attending to as deep as Abia State. I've been there, the hubs there. I've been to Jos, I've been to Kano, I've been to Abuja. I've spoken in so many conferences, and I also meet a lot of colleagues. So it's just, there's this unity that I feel like if you're in tech, it's something that you just plug in and connect with everybody and do. And so for me, how it all happened was I had keen interest in tech and I started learning from home. I started building, I think I learned how to build websites first, then applications, then how do I build a business, then how do I employ. And gladly today, we run a company that operates across Africa and the world at large, serving clients all over the world and all of that. But most importantly, I think connecting with peer groups, and this is what the MTT has done very well. I'm sure you have a Slack channels, you have groups, and that's how you connect and interact. And you will find someone who will pick up on your idea, big, bold, crazy ideas, right? Back to our slides, and then you connect, and then you share, and then you learn, and then you build, and then you continue to do that over and over and over again. And one day, you're on the national TV as a success story, perhaps on BBC Worldwide. Thank you very much.
Interesting. Wow. Like it feels good to know you've been to a lot of places. That means you've been deep into this tech thing and you know how to do it so well. It's also quite interesting to know that you have been to my state before, Abia
Yes,
State.
I
Yeah.
made intentional to let you know that yes, I was at Abia, I think twice. Yes, I've been to Abia, and it was these technical programs that brought me there. There was a tech event twice. I've been there. Yes, thank you.
That's so lovely. That's so lovely. Wish to have you in Abia again some other time. Okay, there is a comment for you from Kanji. Kanji said, thanks, Ahmed. We really learned from your presentation. Thank you so much. Yeah, for that wonderful presentation once again. And we also have another question here, a second question. I so much loved the topic and how you presented it so well. Thanks. How can we set clear goals, follow key performance indicators, and use data analytics to measure the impact of our solution? If you need me to repeat the question again, I will. I will do that.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay.
Repeat the question.
So how can we set clear goals, follow key performance indicators, that's KPIs, and use data analytics to measure the impact of our solution?
Okay, but that's what we discussed earlier, right? I think I made a clear, deep explanation, but if you're taking me back, I'll have to go back to my slide, but it's fine. So setting clear goals, right? First, the first thing in setting your clear goal is to understand why, right? Those what do you call them? The three why, what, for what, why, when, where. Those questions, I think 4 whys or five whats. Those things really matter. Why are you doing it? Right? Because passion. I didn't want to go deep into that because that could be another topic in itself. But your passion, right, matters. In most cases, if you don't know why you're doing something, once you hit the first obstacle, which I also mentioned, there is hundreds of obstacles you will face, but I focused on 3. But once you face an obstacle, if there's no passion, if there's no zeal, if there's no reason why you're doing it, you just say, oh, I'm done. I'm not doing this again. And a lot of people do that, right? That's one. And also your knowledge in the area, right? If you're not knowledgeable in the space, you will face a lot of challenge and you will definitely get overwhelmed and it will be all too complex. And so, but if you have your clear goals, I want to do this, I want to do this, this is where I'm lacking, this is what I need to learn. In some cases, you might find some of your ideas, you need to go back to learning first before you even start implementing anything, right? So that's also part of your clear goals, understanding why you're doing it, understanding how you're going to do it, understanding who you're doing it for. We discussed all of this in the previous slides as well. If you don't know who you're building for, chances are you'll just be building for nobody, right? I have built applications. Someone did mention 10 things Ahmed Mukosha. I saw it on Facebook. He just tagged me. And 10 things Ahmed Mukosha has built that failed. And I never took count because I was learning. I never had 3MTT. I never had Justina and the rest of the people to put through an awesome presentation like this during my time. So it was like hit the walls, bash this one, bash that one, and drop this one and pick that one until we get on the path that we want to go to. But today, I think it's important that you lay those goals. If you don't, you will definitely have those obstacles and you wouldn't know what you're doing. So who you're building the solution for, why you're doing it, what you're doing to do it, who you're building it for, you need to identify all of that and ensure that part of what we discussed in the previous slides, minimum viable products, research, measure, meet people, present, show people your idea before you start implementing, find the people you're solving the problem for. All of that matters. That's the part. And then economical value, of course, right? Your clear goals. How do you make money? Because this is a question that I tend to ask people when they come to present for funding or seed rounds. My first question is, how do you make money? Simple. Because if you don't make money, what then do you want to keep pouring on you? Because you just have to do that. So all of that is part of your clear goals, right? Setting KPIs, I think, is also another topic. How do you set your KPIs? I think if you just sit down and spend the day on how to set up your KPIs, you would find a lot of strategies towards setting your KPIs. So some of your KPIs is like, are we selling? What's the number of target consumers audience? What's our target goal? How many are we generating per day? What's the if for example, let me give you an example, right? This presentation that we had here, I have 10 slides. I'm supposed to speak for an hour. 60 minutes means like I need to speak for six minutes per slide. If I don't have that, if I'm not checking myself that I'm not passing more than 6 minutes per slide, I'll end up speaking 20 minutes per slide. And then I have 1 hour to speak, and then I don't finish my presentation. That's an example of how you take of your key performance indicators and how you measure them. Per minute, I need to speak 6. And am I doing it on a day? If it's, for example, a 6-day thread, you need to achieve this. How are you doing it during those intervals? And there are more also key areas. It depends on what you're doing because KPIs don't apply to everyone. Every organization, every business, every idea, every solution has its own design for KPIs. but you just need to pay attention to that. And I think lastly, data, he said, how do you take data? So I think data is everything, right? Everything you do is data. In my company, we have data as much as maybe how many times did you log in, how many times did you log out? As simple as that, it gives us, we can use that to measure at what time of the day do customers want to log into the portal, right? And so if you want to do maintenance, we can say there are less people in the evenings, or there are even, you'll be surprised that you think it's midnight that people sleep. Sometimes tech people work at night, and you'll be surprised that it is midnight that you want to log in, and that's when you want to do maintenance. But if you have your record of what's the frequency of people logging in, logging out, logging in, logging out, what time do they, how many minutes do they spend on the platform and all of that, you can use that as a data to guide you on maintenance. Say you want to go on a maintenance for an hour, what time should you take that maintenance? And is an hour not too much, because most of your users don't go off for less than an hour, things like that. So it's a lot of data you need to collect, really. And today, I think data is not expensive anymore. Collecting data is not expensive. Storage is getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. We are now holding on our mobile phones, gigabytes of data, terabytes now on our mobile phone. So you can actually store as much data as you need to. But most importantly, it's not just storing data that matters, organized data. If your data is not organized, then you're just piling up dump. And please don't pile up dump. So I think I've answered that slide over again for you. Thank you, Justina.
Sure. That's a whole lot, just like summary of the slides from beginning to the end. And I hope Gideon is so much satisfied with the response to his question. All right, so hi Ibrahim. I see your comment. I love 3MTT. 3MTT loves you also. There's another question here. Is there anything that GigaLayer has for 3MTT fellows ahead? Any internship opportunities?
I'm not sure if I'm in a position to alter anything. But of course, we're friends to the house, and we are definitely planning on doing a lot, actually, even for the 3MTT graduates and also for the 3MTT program. But one thing I can say, feel free if you're a member or participant at 3MTT and you feel GigaLayer has anything to offer for you, I can assure you that we are ever ready. Just shoot us an email. You can email me, you can email the company. It's hello@gigalayer.com. If you need to request for anything, feel free. The worst you can get is a no. I mean, that's just the worst, right? But I can assure you that we will not just throw a no anyhow. So we will definitely look at what you want to do and what you're trying to implement, and we can see how we can assist you. And personally, I love young ideas, and I love young implementers, right? I don't like stories, right? So mostly if you want to do something, show us something you've started doing and how we can help you. Be very specific to your request, not just for GigaLayer. This is an advice for contacting anybody. Make sure that you know what you want. Don't just throw, can you help me? I need solution, I need help, I need guidance, I need mentor. Don't do that. A lot of people, this is also an addition to my slide. A lot of people make that mistake. You want someone to help you, maybe a CEO of another company or tech, or just write them, hello, please, I'm doing this and I need your help. You didn't specify, you didn't say anything. Basically, you just added to their headache for the day, right? So what you need to do is make sure you know what you want, identify how the person can help you, then shoot them an email, let them know this is my challenge, this is how I think you can help me if you can, please. So be specific with your requests to GigaLayer and to any company you are writing to.
All right, thank you so much. It's good to know that you are willing to help 3MTT fellows that have amazing ideas to bring to life, right? So please, if you have any cool idea that you want to bring to life, you do well to reach out to GigaLayer, and they are there to give you the support needed to take that idea from just from the idea stage to the stage where you have to innovate it and as well as implement it. Thank you so much, Mr. Ahmed. So moving forward to the next question, we have a few minutes to end this webinar, but we have a lot of questions there, and I'm pretty sure they're going to be just all these questions before we end. So the next question here, Your presentation was very insightful. Thank you so much. I have a question. Would you recommend offering a percentage of a promising project in exchange for funding?
Would you what?
Would you recommend offering a percentage of a promising project in exchange for funding?
Would I recommend exchanging a percentage
offering a percentage of a promising project in exchange for funding?
For funding? Well, it's a tricky one, right? A lot of people make that mistake and they end up offering too much more than is necessary, or they end up collecting too much funding more than is also necessary. So before you take funding, also, I think I would recommend to 3MTT to have another session with someone to present to them how to take funding if this has not been done yet. So when it comes to taking funding, it's important that you don't take more than you need and you don't leave money on the table. It's a chicken and egg problem. You have to sit down, know what you need, and only take what you need. And don't also take less than you need, because that's leaving money on the table. Because if you do that, you will end up with a half done, half-baked solution. And if you end up with too much money, you'll end up with more than necessary to change. And what that does to your business is that it creates already a very bad history, because you have too much money than is necessary, and you end up doing too much things, and then the valuation has gone up and the value of the business is not up to that valuation, because you've taken so much money, you've now been valued too high and you're actually low. So it's a very big problem. Yeah, but you can actually exchange percentage. I think the ideal is always below 15 at the early stage seed rounds. In fact, if you can do below 10, it's important, it's valuable, because you would most likely raise more funding as you proceed. There's fundraising you can do ahead, Series A, Series B, apart from the seed rounds. So I think that is a part that you need to sit down with your financial advisor, financial staff, management, and figure out what to do. I'm not sure if we've lost Justina. So the person asking the questions, I'm not seeing your questions yet. I hope I've answered that question.
Yeah, sure you did. Thank you so much for providing an answer to that question. So the third question that we have here is how will one develop a website with a knowledge being gained from cybersecurity? How will one develop a website with knowledge being gained from cybersecurity?
So cybersecurity is not really revolving around building websites at all. It's a completely different area. But if you want to learn how to build websites, mostly you want to learn web technologies, right? And with your cybersecurity knowledge, it gives you more advantage when you build websites or applications or web services. You would be more secure because you know all the security areas where you need to protect that application. It's one thing to build an application. It's another thing to protect it online, because the internet, I called it World Wide West, right? Sorry, World Wide Worst, because that's what people call it, because it's the only place where you get to, and then you are exposed to the whole vulnerabilities of the internet and the people all over the world. There are bad people, there are people with intent. They come to your website, they just want to put it down, right? So with your cybersecurity knowledge, with your experience in cybersecurity, you'll be able to protect, you'll be able to securely establish a website or a web application or a web service without challenges. But in terms of building the service itself, it's a whole new topic. It's not under cybersecurity. It's in web technologies and application development. I'm sure there are courses on 3MTT you will take for application development, web app development, and the rest of that. That's development. Security, on the other hand, is protection. But with your knowledge of security, you can actually dive into the development space, and that complements, it becomes like a fuse. It complements your capacity on the internet. It means that you can actually build and you can actually protect. So I think that's what anyone with cybersecurity experience should do.
Yeah. Thank you so much for answering that. So let me just like quickly add something. So if you are into cybersecurity and you have a nice idea to solve a problem, don't keep it to yourself and don't say you don't have the skill to do the site or anything. You can't bring that idea to life. Go as far as partnering with someone who is a bit better. Like in 3MTT, we have a lot of tracks. There is software development, there is cybersecurity, there is data analytics. You can form a team with this. Just look for the skill set you need to bring this idea to life, form a team with them, and get things done. So you must not be the one to build the site if you're into cybersecurity. A developer can build the site for you, but you handle the security aspect of the site, just like Mr. Ahmed said. So thank you so much, Mr. Ahmed, for doing justice to that question. Now the next question here is how did you handle your bold items? Less resources. Just like you highlighted some challenges, and funding was one of the financial challenges, right? So this person is trying to find out how you handled your bold ideas with less resources.
With regards to
With less resources, with less resources.
less resources.
Yes.
So actually, bold ideas are very, very resource intensive, because in reality, they are very bold, right? They're not ideas like I want to change the color of a tissue paper. That's not a bold idea, right? But if you want to say, I want to take tissue paper to Mars, that's a bold idea, right? So in most cases, bold ideas require resources. And I advised earlier, you should consider defining, explaining, describing, documenting your whole idea to the extent that someone is willing to drop more funds for you. I'll give an example with Elon Musk, with his interest in taking spaceship. And this Starlink that we are connecting everywhere right now, it was a very brilliant, bold idea, right? But do you know how many times they had to shoot rockets and it falls down, right? They shoot and it goes up, it won't even get there and come, or sometimes they shoot, it goes there and coming down, it crashes and they lose the whole data. They had to try and try again, and they're burning millions and millions and billions of dollars. But because Elon Musk has already defined his bold idea, he has already made it clear goals, he has made his clear definition, he has been able to document his ideas so nicely that the people with the money don't mind to drop their money, let them be burnt, right? Let them, because they know he has already convinced them this is where we're going and we will get there. So they keep on trying. And the same thing with Facebook, right? It was a very brilliant, bold idea, right? Mark Zuckerberg, he wanted to build social network. They weren't even making money, right? But people were dumping more and more money on top of Facebook to ensure that they deliver what they promise on. And today is generative AI, right? We're already seeing how that is being done. ChatGPT, right? Or GPT-3, right? When it came out, I mean, they've already burnt millions and millions and millions of dollars already behind the scene before they brought out a product that's online. Probably they've gone to $1 billion, I don't know. But the most important thing is, if you have bold ideas, it doesn't just come out of the mouth. If I say I want to build a solution that allows, let me give an example, bullet trains. I just want to give a simple example that we can all relate to. Bullet trains going at 300 kilometers per hour can take me from here to Abuja in less than 4 hours, right? Maybe 3 hours, I don't know the maths, but let's assume I want to do that. But then there's issue of safety, there's issue of congestion, the roads. Then I bring out an idea that says we do tunnels, and then we create the bullet trains on the ground where they have no resistance. There will be zero resistance, air resistance, whatever it is. We will have no obstacles. They will not hit anything. Even if they go at 500 kilometers per hour, they are safe, whatever it is I just presented. I can't just come and tell someone that I want to do that. You just tell me, okay, how? And I'm hanged, right? But then if I go and do my research, and then I am able to put things into perspective where someone can actually see that and understand what I'm trying to achieve and be able to do that, then they drop money. Already people want to move fast. There was this aircraft that was made if I do remember its name, Concorde, right? There was the Concorde aircraft. Concorde no longer produce that aircraft again that could travel from UK to, I'm not sure, whether China or somewhere within few hours of what other aircraft will do on maybe 10, 15, 20 hours, I don't know. But then there was that idea and people dumped money and Concorde was built and they tried it and then they figure out that it's not something sustainable. Go back to our slides regarding sustainability. They realized that Concorde was not sustainable and they dropped the idea, but then there was millions of dollars funded there. So my advice is for whoever have less resources for bold ideas, make sure that you have well-documented bold idea. Don't just have bold ideas, define it, document it, present it, fine-tune it, and make sure that it is consumable for someone to invest into.
Interesting. Thank you so much. You were really detailed in answering that question. And I'm sure the person that asked this question, that's John. John, I hope you are satisfied with, no, not John, either, wildlife. Yeah, I'm sure you are satisfied with this answer to your question. So we have to quickly answer all the questions because of our time. So the next question here is, you talked about bootstrapping. You talked about bootstrapping, and somehow it feels like the closest to a foolproof way of picking up on your bold ideas. Can you talk a little more on it? Perhaps share a personal story. So let me take the question again. You talked about bootstrapping, and somehow it feels like the closest to a foolproof way of picking up on your bold ideas. Can you talk a little more on it? Perhaps share a personal story.
On bold ideas?
You talked about bootstrapping. This person is talking about bootstrapping. And yes, bootstrapping. And he's saying that it feels like it's the closest to a foolproof way of picking up on your bold ideas. So he's asking you to share a little more on it and share your personal story, like to throw more light. Can you share a personal story to throw more light on it?
Amazing. Can I hear the name of the person who asked this question? Because this is a very interesting question and I love it so much.
Okay, that's John Ofiachuku. John
Ofiachuku.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. So John, so interestingly, right, I've come through, like I said, obstacles of building and building, and I had bold ideas as well. And I figured bootstrapping also out of necessity, rather, right? I tried to build my company. I was working at a private organization. I was the lead developer there, and I had an idea of what I want to build. I'm trying to solve a solution to the problems that I saw a lot of people having. And I contacted a lot of companies, a lot of businesses, and some of them were even willing to write me a check just from telling them I'm interested in doing this. They're like, can we pay for it right now? And then I realized that it's a business that I can actually venture into. But then funding was a challenge for me, right? And I was among the early cohorts of people in Lagos who went rallying for funding, right? And in fact, I was among the finalists for the first Lagos Angel Network demo day for presentation to raise, if I'm not mistaken, about 10 million Naira then for my company. And I was on the finalist. And in fact, I was even selected for that fundraising. But sadly, I didn't collect those funds because I was actually studying and researching and figuring out that bootstrapping was an option for me, which when I was studying, I learned that there are companies who are valued at $1 billion valuation that have not raised or did not raise seed round from anybody. They actually bootstrapped. And that got me curious. It was around that period of time when I was running up and down for funds. And it was really a hard time for me. Then I started researching and I found out that so many companies were built. I'll give you an example of some of them because they are down to heart for me. MailChimp was one of them. I'm sure most of the people participating here knew MailChimp. MailChimp was one of the companies that was being built without funding. The founders used their own money to kickstart that company. Another one is Authorize.net. It's a payment platform. They did the same thing. They didn't raise funds and they built. In fact, there's a clique of those companies. They are calling them bootstrap, profitable, and proud. That's what they call themselves, bootstrap, profitable, and proud companies. All of them are actually valued at over $1 billion today. And they didn't raise, maybe not 1 billion, maybe millions, most of them, right? Maybe not 1 billion, but they're actually highly valued companies today. And most of them didn't raise seed round. Maybe along the way, they raised Series A, Series B when they got to some certain level. So what I did was to say, okay, maybe I'll save. So I ended up putting down my salary. So he said he wanted to know, Mr. John wants to know how I did it. So I ended up working for nearly 2 years. During those 2 years, most of my salary was being in my savings account. I was literally living a frugal life. To be honest with you, there was time when I used to live on gari and sugar and granules, right? And I was able to focus on how I'm going to build the business with the little funds that I have, kickstart somewhere and carry on. So I think the way to do it is to seek either, I wasn't privileged. I have some friends who are also bootstrap companies, but they were privileged enough to have an uncle who was willing to lend them 1 million there, another auntie who was willing to give them 2 million there. Maybe they gather and they are able to kickstart the business. But if you're not fortunate, maybe sometimes you can be fortunate. Maybe it's your mom, maybe it's your brother who is going to lend you some money to kickstart, or you're going to work and save money. But when you do, make sure we go back to that slide where I explained resource usability. You need to be able to make maximum uses of resources. I can tell you for a fact, because I knew it was all of my savings I used in my business, I can take account of even as simple as the water, drinking water that we use in the office, right? Dispenser water, I was actually taking account to make sure that we don't waste water, we don't waste funds. The little we have, we make the best use of it. So yeah, you can raise those funds and kickstart your idea, and especially for bold ideas. I don't think I've had such a very bold idea in such. The only part I can refer to for myself is when I was trying to raise funding for my business, and I was trying to process card payments in Nigeria where there was no Visa cards, no MasterCards, and people were having challenges going to banks to make payment for the services. And I embarked on the journey to ensure that we use card payment online. It was a very bold idea, and because I didn't have investors at that time, my team were thinking I was crazy for doing that, but I can give you a brief of how it worked. So what we did was, there was no Visa card, MasterCard then in Nigeria. So, and the cards we had were Value Card, InterSwitch cards, and the rest. And we needed to process. There were a few companies who are aggregators. At that time, we call them aggregators, that they aggregate Value Card, InterSwitch, and other cards as a switch where they can charge those cards. But they charge a lot of money, and it's really cumbersome to even integrate. There was a lot of failures. So then I remember there was a company that came up in Lagos, and they were actually doing that switching and aggregating of payment gateways, and we integrated them. The first thing we did, bold move, was to say that if you go to the bank, you pay full amount. If you go online and use your card, you pay 90%, so you get 10% discount. Then we put it on the website that if you go to the bank, you have to transport yourself to the bank. If you deposit, it will take 48 hours for us to track your payment and process your payment. But if you do it online, it's instant and immediate. Furthermore, if you pay with your card right now online, you get your service immediately. So all of those bold moves made people had to reconsider whether they should put their cards, because there was this notion of, I don't want to put my card online, scammers everywhere, I don't want to. So that was what we used at that time to encourage people to make card payments on the website and feel secure. Also by ensuring there are people with cybersecurity here. On the other hand, we made sure that we've also established SSL, secure circuit layers, in terms of encryption, CAD level of integration with the processor is being done through Windows and all of that. And we really did a lot of work to ensure that that is done, but it was a bold idea. Within an organization, it might not be a bold idea nationwide, but within our own organization, it was a bold move and it was a success. And today it accounts for more than half of our transactions. So I hope in this story, Mr. John is able to learn a lot from that.
Sure. That was indeed a bold idea and a bold story. A quite inspiring story, right? So I believe not just about the webinar. I believe that people are being motivated this evening from all that you've been saying, especially your personal stories, your personal experiences. It shows that it's doable. It's doable if you are committed to it, right? So thank you so much for doing justice to Mr. John's question as well. So for the next question, someone here is asking, from your tech experience, what is your advice to someone who is coming up in tech? What is your advice for someone who is coming up in tech?
Advice for someone who is coming new into tech?
Who is coming up in tech?
Coming up, okay, coming up. Patience, right? It's the most important thing. You have to have strong patience. You need to have resilience. Don't let the first obstacle, the first challenge, the first difficulty send you back. Don't do that. It's a mistake that I see a lot of people. And once I see somebody do that, I know they don't belong in tech. They don't belong in tech, because in tech, you will be building something, you'll be making progress for days. Maybe you've built for 10 days, and out of all those 10 days, you're making progress. But on the ninth, or maybe not 10 days, on the 9th day, right, you hit an obstacle, and that obstacle will hold you for 30 days. Right? And it will hold you for 30 days until you find solution to that problem. Then you come back and plug and continue. That's tech for you. That is just tech for you. But if you're not resilient enough, if you're not patient enough, you say, I've been progressing for 9 days. Then on the 10th day, now this whole thing has turned upside down. And then I've been trying for the past 10 days, which is 20 days, and I've not seen any solution to my problem. I give up. No. For tech, it's something that you have to work more. You have to do more. You research more. You investigate more. A bug, if you're into coding and programming, can hold you for days. Sometimes, personally, I tend to have challenges with coding and somewhere, and it is midnight. Sometimes I just wake up midnight, that moment that you just sleepless, and then the idea will just come like this, flip, and then I go rush to my system to quickly start coding again, because the idea just came. It will shock you that I might have spent days trying to even figure out what to do, but it just did not click. It's normal for tech. Another thing is, don't be over, I want to find a good word. Don't consume too much. Don't take everything. Don't be Google yourself. Don't be a Google of yourself, right? Basically, you want to know everything. You want to do everything. You take it easy. The tech is too wide for anybody to be jack of all. Just focus, pick an area, and leave the rest. And focus on that path and keep going. I can tell you one of the most difficult decisions I've taken in my early days in tech when I was learning was while I was doing web technologies and building web apps, websites, and things like that. Then Android and iOS development was in vogue. It was a hard time for me while I was trying to improve my web technologies to not leave it and go back to Android development and mobile app development. I had to just put a curtain between me and mobile apps development and Android development, iOS, and say that I just want to do web technologies, and I want to be perfect at web technologies. I want to know more about MVCs, model views and controllers, and frameworks, web apps, frameworks, and things like that. And I followed that path, and I continued on it. So it's very difficult for early days, guys. You start this, you leave it, you jump to this, you leave it, you jump to that, you leave it, and in the end, you get overwhelmed and you will not achieve much. Focus on a particular path. I know you'll definitely be Googling things, that's where the problem starts. You start Googling things and then you pick a new idea. It's like, no, I'm not doing web technologies again. Somebody is already asking questions regarding cybersecurity and building web apps. He's already thinking whether I should leave my cybersecurity and go into building web apps. No, don't do that. Continue on your cybersecurity. The thing is, in any organization, it's not only one man. I always make example with the bank, right? In the bank, there's the cashier, there's the customer care personnel, there's even the security man, there's the manager, there's the ATM administrator, there's even a driver who does the bullion van to carry the funds, and there's even security, those guys with the security of picking the bank and whatever. So all of those people have to be perfect at best at what they do. A customer service agent must be best at customer service. Leave the cashier to do the cashier things. You're not into cashier work. You don't need to start counting, know how to count money, how to do no. Leave the customer service to customer service. Leave the security to the security personnel. Don't be jack of everything. So into cybersecurity, focus on cybersecurity. There's a lot in cybersecurity you will learn. There's a lot you can do in cybersecurity. You will meet more cybersecurity people. You engage with cybersecurity groups and meetups and events and things like that, and get deep into cybersecurity. And try and become something of a global purpose. If you're into cybersecurity, you shouldn't just be cybersecurity for tiny or little space that you can achieve. Be into cybersecurity for the as good as the whole world can rely on you when it comes to cybersecurity. Thank you, Justina. You're still muted.
Okay, thank you so much. So I got one thing. Tech is too wide for anyone to be jack of all. Yeah, that's quite interesting. Okay, thank you for that question. So the next question here is similar to the previous one answered. So I don't think we should be addressing that. The person is asking sorry, again. Give us online guide on how to step up as beginners. Is the answer is related to what you just said previously, or is there any additional something you would want to add to this person's question? Give us an online guide on how to step up as beginners.
Yeah, for beginners, and I just stopped at that particular point because I didn't want to talk all along on that axis. So, but additionally, I think they can also join groups, right? Meetup groups, even online groups, where they, in that area of where you are getting started with. Personally, when I started doing Python programming, I joined a Python group, and it was amazing, right? People throw out challenges with Python, and I'm like, how did they even get to this challenge? Like, I've never come across this kind of challenge in my learning curve. And then because they are having a challenge, I ended up learning something that I didn't have a challenge with. This is what happens when you join groups. Someone will say, oh, I saw this error in my Python code and I was trying to do this and I was trying to do that. Please, can anybody help me? And I'm like, did this guy invented a whole new problem? So, yeah. The same thing happens in JavaScript. It's a complex code that each time I enter any JavaScript group or forum or board or WhatsApp group, for example, right? And if I see them posting issues, I just sit like this and I'm like, wow, impressive, you know, because while in my whole career of implementation, I've never come across such a problem. Somebody will go and, you know, that thing that they used to say, who press spoil? So you would see somebody will go and press spoil, and then he's all over the group and he's trying to find somebody else who can come in and help or come to their rescue. And I'm like, how did they do this? Let me try that. So it's a good thing for beginners, really. Socialize as much as you can. Don't spend all your time socializing anyway, but try as much as possible to socialize. You will come across issues that people are facing and it will guide you. After that, I think study, learn more. Don't, so 3MTT has done a wonderful job in terms of kickstarting you guys, right? In igniting your fire, basically. but don't let it just be at the baseline, right? After igniting your fire, you need to add more coal to it. You need to add more fuel into the fire, let the fire burn more. Beyond 3MTT, you would even want to come back to 3MTT as an instructor, you know, as somebody who's going to teach others. Don't join 3MTT and just start something and stay at the level. Oh, that's all that 3MTT taught me. I tend to hear that from university students, and it annoys me. It annoys me a lot. They say, that's all that my lecturer taught me, or that's all that he taught me in school. And I'm like, school is preparing you. They give you the basic, they give you the table of content. Don't expect the 3MTT program or the school program, or whatever program you're going through, to be the only 360 of everything. You need to get out of that circle. After you've learned everything at 3MTT, go a step ahead, find more programs, find more classes, find more resources, and learn and keep learning and keep learning. The ladder is, they say sky is the limit. That's just what I will stop there. Justina, do we have you?
Sorry, I'm back. I think I got disconnected by the network, but I'm back. So I guess you were done answering the last question. Okay, so we just have one more question to go for tonight, and it's still centered around beginners. And this person is trying to know, as a beginner in tech with interest in cloud and cybersecurity like DevOps, do you think starting off as a software developer is right? And this question is from Isaac. So he wants to know, as a beginner in tech with interest in cloud and cybersecurity like DevOps, if you think starting up as a software developer is right. So that's the last question for tonight.
So for cloud engineering, I don't think web developer or developer is a requirement for you. It only, so this is my space, right? This is my area. I am actually a cloud engineer and also a web developer, apps developer actually. So I started with programming before joining into cloud engineering and DevOps. But it was a transition for me from web technologies into cloud engineering and DevOps. But if you want to do cloud engineering and DevOps, you don't really need because most of the people that I'm seeing in the space now that I associate with, they don't really build. They don't really know much about web technologies, right? They just know what are the resources that those web technologies use on the cloud, and they're able to compute and give them those resources that they need. So it's not a requirement at all. It's a zero requirement, right? But if you're talking about added advantage, of course, if you have a little, don't go too deep. Like I mentioned, that was part of the last advice I gave to the last person. Don't consume too much. Don't take too much junk. You fill up your head with too much, and then you end up getting overwhelmed. Just understand the web technologies, unless you really want to build web apps and websites and stuff like that. Just understand the web technologies and focus on your cloud engineering and DevOps. Because in most cases, as DevOps, you'll be dealing with containers, you'll be dealing with resources, you don't really need anything. You don't even want to care what the programming looks like in the application development. You don't really care. All you care is what does that application require on the cloud, on the server when it comes to the system? What does it need? What are the resources I need to control? How do I know if it is getting enough or if it's not getting enough? Or how do I make it perform better when it's online? Not that you want to know how to build it. So I think also in addition to that, I will give an example with an interior designer saying that I want to know how the builders work. You know, the interior guy, you don't really need to know how the engineers work with the blocks and the cement and the things that the roof and all that. You don't really need to know much of that. But you also need to know where the pillar is. You know, you need to know that there's something called pillar, there's something called lintel, so that when you want to do anything on the interior, you don't walk around lintel or you don't walk around the pillars. I don't know if I'm making sense to the person asking this question. Like you need to have just the basic, right? You know, so every interior guy knows that I don't need to put anything on the pillar. I don't need to put anything on the lintel. You know, they also understand what the roof contains above so that they don't also do anything that will hamper the roofing or it will damage the lintel or it will damage something. They already know. So that's as much as you need to know as a DevOps or cloud engineer in terms of programming. But if you want to do programming and later develop into DevOps, welcome. You are just defining Ahmed Mukoshi. That's how I started. But I don't think it's a requirement at all. And so for me, let me add to that. And for me, I end up jiggling between the two. I go build, and then I come back system admin. Then I go back building. Then I come back to my cloud environment. I compare my cloud environment before I start building. I start building, I go back to check my cloud environment. Is it compatible? What am I doing? And I end up doing 2 months job. It's just because I can't do it, but it's similar to what we used to do. There's something we call full stack developer. These days, people don't do that anymore. I'm a full stack guy. When we started, we didn't have any front end, back end, anything. During that time, we do our CSS, we do our HTML, we do our JavaScript. We go back and we still build the back end. We do the ASP, PHP, whatever code that you want to go and build behind. Then you come back and do the front view, layout, buttons, logos. In fact, we go as much as we do the logos as well. That's how we started. But clearly, you can tell that you are doing more than one man's job. You cannot be in a home and say, I want to be the father, I want to be the mother, I will do the mother work, I will do the father work in the house. You end up getting overwhelmed. So pick a lane and just stay there and do it.
All right, thank you so much. You have quite a lot of interesting stories to share with us. And permit me to say that you're very good with multitasking. I like that's wow, so super amazing. So thank you so much for opening the doors of knowledge to our fellows and for me as well, because I got new things from today's webinar as well. And that's super amazing. So thank you so much. Shout out to you for being amazing throughout this webinar. And if we invite you next time to share some of this your knowledge with our fellows, please do well to accept our invite as well. Okay, so fellas, please, can we appreciate our speaker before he leaves the call? Please drop some emojis for our speaker, appreciate him, and I'm sure you got a lot from him. You have a lot of good comments from the fellows. That's to show that you imparted knowledge to a lot of them. We are grateful. Thank you so much for that. So this is the end of today's webinar. We've come to the end of today's webinar. Don't forget that our speaker's name is Mr. Ahmed Mukoshi, and you can follow him. You can connect with him on social media platforms as well. So enjoy your weekend, and don't forget that I'm also Justina, the 3MTT community manager for Abia State. It was nice having everyone on the call. Thank you all for your commitment. Thank you for paying key attention. Thank you for the questions you asked. Thank you so much. Till the next webinar, enjoy your weekend. Bye, everyone.